The Libra eclipse is upon us. This is going down at 10 degrees Libra. This is a hot degree in your chart right now. So pay attention if you have anything at 10 degrees in eyesight of 10 degrees Libra or 10 degrees Aries, because there's a lot happening here, not just this eclipse. There's also going to be another eclipse at this degree on March 29th of next year, where we're also going to see Mercury station retrograde at this degree and Venus station retrograde at this degree in March. So pay attention to what is happening for you right now. All right, folks, there is a lot of information here in this solar eclipse chart. So, as usual, I'm going to break it all down for you. First, we're going to look at the specs here. This is an annular eclipse, and an annular eclipse is basically what would be a total eclipse if the moon was closer to Earth. But instead, because the moon is farther away from the Earth at this time, we're going to see a little bit of a ring going around the moon in front of the sun. So it's not going to be a total eclipse. The sun isn't going to go completely black, but there, like I said, there will be a corona or a ring around the moon at that time. And it's kind of neat. Here's a little bit of astronomy for you. What Black Moon Lilith actually is, Black Moon Lilith is not like an asteroid or anything like that. It is not a physical body orbiting the Earth, or rather the sun. Um, Instead, Black Moon Lilith is the point of the moon's apogee. It's point where the moon is furthest away from the Earth in its wobbly kind of orbit. So when you see Black Moon Lilith conjunct like the new moon, or in this case a solar eclipse, it means that it's going to be annular. The moon is going to be smaller. Conversely, if you see Black Moon Lilith conjunct, like let's say or opposite the moon in a, let's say, a full moon chart, then you're going to have a super moon there. So that's one way that you can work with Black Moon Lilith, is just to see the lunar apogee, its furthest point away from the Earth, or its perigee, the closest point to the Earth. So there's a little nerdy astronomy there for you here. Okay, but Black Moon Lilith is going to be an important part of this October 2nd solar eclipse. Right now, where I live in the United States, reproductive freedom is certainly a huge topic, as well as sexual freedom. These things are huge. There was a woman who was just found her death to be preventable in Georgia due to doctors not feeling like they were able to provide life saving care while she was miscarrying her child. And this is a terrifying issue here in the United States, where um, pregnant women, pregnant people are fearful. Like it's like you can't be fully celebratory without the fear that something could go wrong if your life will be able to be saved. And simultaneously, doctors are fearing losing their license. So this is a huge humanitarian crisis that's happening in a first world nation. And I'm sure that Lilith is showing up for in other ways across the globe, but for me, that's what's present in on my mind at this moment. So because Lilith can't necessarily be eclipsed, right? Um, I wouldn't say necessarily that the wild woman, or what's natural, what is biologically natural, is necessarily going to be hindered by the eclipse, but instead I see this as being a moment where these issues are very emphasized. And we're going into an election here, so this is definitely a major topic. So we're going to see catalysts, we're going to see major developments, some things unexpected, some things pivotal that are going to maybe influence this conversation in a really big way. Because remember, eclipses flip the script, they bring in fated circumstances, and they're never gentle. Eclipses are always a little chaotic. Now, however, we also have Mercury here. So Mercury will be eclipsed. Mercury here, not completely combust. Mercury holds triplicity here in Libra, so Mercury's doing okay. But planets that are in the fray of the eclipse are always impacted. So a planet like Mercury, we're looking at media. We're looking at media giants. I think about I was just thinking about like who the billionaires are today, and they're all like tech people. So we want to be looking at the tech industry, specifically figureheads like Musk or Zuckerberg, those people and their um, entities, their modes of business could become a big piece of the eclipse story where some of the chaos is unfolding. Other Mercury things might be transportation. We also look at Mercury representing a lot of workers, also children. Mercury is the youth. So those are some things that we would definitely want to be looking out for as far as important and catalytic developments unfolding under this eclipse, which, by the way, the few days leading up to an eclipse, a few days after the eclipse, those are the most supercharged. But the impact of an eclipse is not limited to that period either. Eclipse points stay sensitive for a while. These are points of further development and unfolding. Now, this is an eclipse along the Libra Aries axis. We've been working with this energy since early 23, like the spring of 2023. So we're almost done with this. We only have 2 more eclipses happening here. Interestingly, and pay attention to this here because this eclipse is happening at 10 degrees Libra. In the spring on March, let's see here, where's my little paper? On March 29th, we're going to see another eclipse at 9 degrees Aries. So pay attention to what's coming up for you personally and in the world because there's going to be an echo chamber in the month of March. We're going to see a repetition, not just of this 9-10 degree in Aries, but there will also be an eclipse in Virgo at 23 degrees, which is exactly opposite the last eclipse we had. Normally, we don't see those degrees repeat twofold. We'll see that repeat typically with one eclipse. So there's definite correspondence between the developments happening for us during this eclipse season and the next one. So pay attention to what's coming up for you personally because that will be the last eclipse in this series. So that's going to put a nice little bow on this whole Aries Libra journey for you. Now, if you have significant points in Aries and Libra, you might be connecting with this rebalancing of sorts in a more deeply personal way. But even if you don't have planets here or significant points, you may be able to observe what's been happening in the world with Aries Libra. Significant leadership changes in the world, lots of new blood coming in, fresh leadership. This is happening in a lot of different nations. People just wanting new new representation and the fall of other leaders. Notably, Biden stepped down. That was a big example of a Libra eclipse. And he's still in power, but he's not running again. So that's kind of like a Libra South Node experience there. Sun in its fall situation. So yeah, but on a personal level, I'm seeing a lot come up around the importance of authenticity in relationships in order to create a deeper sense of peace. And so some of us are needing to rebalance either lessening our blow, being more socially aware, and some of us are needing to be more assertive in dynamics in order to establish a different sense of true, authentic peace. So there's a way that these two can meet in the middle. And yeah, so I don't know. I know how it's been showing up for me. That's why I'm kind of chuckling over here. But think about how this has been showing up for you and look for those themes to repeat in your life. The other thing here is that this is an eclipse ruled by Venus. Now, you might have caught one of my last videos talking about Venus and Scorpio and how Venus and Scorpio is in detriment. So we have a detrimented planet ruling this eclipse. This is another reason why I think this is a big moment for people to voice their need for validation, their need for their rights as human beings to be recognized. Because Venus represents women, but Venus also represents anyone on the LGBTQ spectrum. This is femininity over here. And basically, Venus is also sexuality. And what we have here is Venus is in detriment. So Venus has to work twice as hard in order to get her point across. And so again, we're coming over here, eclipse in Libra, law, justice, fairness, equality. Lilith is involved. I think this is a moment where Venus has to kind of like grapple to be heard and to secure the right to exist and to even like codify some of those rights in the law. And I think Venus does have some support here. Venus is in a trine with Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer not doing too well either, but they have a mutual reception here. Venus occupies Mars's sign, so Mars wants to help Venus. Meanwhile, Mars holds triplicity in Cancer, but so does Venus. So Venus in some ways wants to help Mars. Mars in Cancer wants to hold on to something. There's also a tendency to avoid with Mars in Cancer, but Mars can come out swinging when provoked. And I think Venus here is saying like, yes, this is worth fighting for. Let's work together here. There's something about the two of these planets getting together that want to hold on to something that is worth holding on to. Good things are worth holding on to. Things like our rights, our freedoms, those are things worth fighting for. There is agreement here between these. On another level, Saturn is involved. We have a grand trine in water. Water is emotions, water is psychic, spiritual energy. It's feeling. We're overflowing with feeling right now. And this is showing up in our relationships. So, thinking about an eclipse in Libra, that could be a pivotal moment for relationship developments. And with the involvement of Saturn over here, Saturn wants to establish rules, Saturn wants to establish structure, Saturn wants us to have a mind toward the future. Like think about what we're building, think about the worthiness of our time and energy going into something together. So this has a lot to say about relationships just in general. Even eclipse aside, we're feeling this grand trine in water for some time. Eventually Venus and Mars are going to move into a grand trine with Neptune once they move past Saturn. So we're going to be working with this grand trine in water for some time. Saturn here is able to bring stability to where the emotional currents are steering us, whether that's deepening intimacy, deepening closeness, deepening a commitment to what feels and moves us, to what stirs us. So yeah, I think that's about it here. There's, like I said, a lot happening in this chart. Hopefully some of this or all of it has resonated with you or been supportive to you in some way. Again, just eclipses are catalysts. They are periods that are usually chaotic, a little bit stressful, but ideally they're helping us course correct in some fashion. For some people, it feels like, yeah, this wasn't convenient, all these changes. But for some of us, don't underestimate the power of an eclipse to clear the path for you too. So be open to receiving the blessings of what an eclipse can do, but don't count on it either. Just be ready, and pay attention to the revelations and the shifts that are coming your way as a result of this eclipse season. I hope this eclipse serves you in the highest. And for right now, that's your astrology shot of the day, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine. You can also head on over to my website, catherineurban.com, where you can book your next astrology reading. We'll go into depth into your natal chart, your progressions, your profections, your solar return, your transits, and beyond. You can also join my mailing list where you can stay up to date with me on new classes as well as article drops. I look forward to connecting with you, and I'll see you next time.